2025 Reston Triathlon. This is a classic DMV Olympic race. This one is taking place on Sunday, September 7th this year. Schedule of events Friday the 5th. We have packet pickup available 4 to 8. Course review taking place 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. The 6th, we have packet pickup happening at 10 to 3. I believe helmet inspection happens there as well at the South Lakes High School there. 11 to noon, we have a course review, and 2 to 3, a course review again out there. So make sure you do head up to one of these packet pickup sites over here because those are the only ones available to you. Sunday the 7th, that is our race day. 5 a.m. transition opens, the area for bike racking, body marking, bike check, all of that fun stuff. 6 a.m. They strongly suggest that you arrive then and no later than then. And 6:45 transition area closes. They recommend you arriving at the T2 at the high school, dropping off your stuff there and biking over to the swim start over there. So with that, let's dive into the course specifics for us. This is our swim. We're going to zoom in here for you. This year they have a couple of unique features. In years past, they did have a little jut out and then back over here. This year we just have a straight shot from the swim start out to about 1,500 feet there. Going all the way back to the very beginning out here, you are going to have waves that you start off in. They will be designated by swim cap color, and you're going to be released in groups of 10 to 15 within the wave at a time, separated by a couple of seconds here or there. So when you do dive into the water out here, remember that the sun plays a huge role in this race. Usually it rises right in the worst spot possible, right through here, and it's going to shine in that direction, which means you're not going to be affected of it on race day. I don't know if it's going to be wetsuit legal. It shuffles back and forth throughout the years here, but your swim is a straight shot right off the gate. So what that means is stronger swimmers are going to take the lead right away. If you are not a stronger swimmer, your goal is going to be to stay on those feet as long as possible to save your energy. Because this is a DMV race and it's pretty local, it's about as local as you can get here. There are going to be some heavy hitters out here. There's going to be definitely some egos out here. So be very mindful of what your effort level is. Very common for athletes to overdo it in this first 1,500 feet. Every single year it happens. And most people don't even realize it's happening when it does. If you do, or if you are a stronger swimmer and you do get released later on within your wave, you are going to have to swim through some carnage, and that is totally okay. All right, nothing wrong with that. Because of that, there is going to be a way to kind of shave off a little bit of space out there on your swim. So if you are hugging the buoys out here and things are a little too tightly packed for you, too out of control, there's going to be another sight line that's a little bit better for you, a little faster. The water is going to be a little bit cleaner. So kind of catch 22. If you're a stronger swimmer, you're going to want to go and find that cleaner water. If you're a weaker swimmer, you're going to have to be kind of following the feet a little bit more, being ready to battle there. Hooking onto our first right dog leg out here, we do carry about, let's call it 700 feet-ish, 500 feet of distance out here. So that is going to take you to the very far side of the course out here. You will notice that the first section out here, you have a ton of things to sight off of. You have sight number one, sight number two. Out here, you kind of lose some of those sighting things out here. So find that turn buoy as best you can and sight that. That's going to be your best spot out here. There might be a couple of landmarks out here, but by far the best one is that sighting buoy over there. Left hand turn, this one happens really quick out here. And again, shaving off some of those distances can definitely happen during this section of swim out here. You might be pushed a little further in, but even if you are pushed towards this area, you can still cut that a little bit closer and shave off some time very, very easily out here. So stronger swimmers are going to have an easier time for the first 3,000 feet of this swim for sure. Common error that you will see is athletes hitting this turn, going to this sighting buoy out here, and then going over there, where instead you just want to shave that off as much as possible. Coming back into town, you'll notice that the sun is going to be a little aggressive right through here, so left-handed breathers are going to probably struggle with this right out of the gates out here, but right-handed breathers aren't going to really notice it a ton aside from sighting out here. If it is foggy or some steam's rising up off the water, which can happen out here at the race venue, you might find that you will not be able to see something like this turn buoy from that turn buoy. All right, so you're just going to have to kind of gauge it, learn where the swim course is, and kind of go off of that. So once you get to here, it does become very challenging from a sunlight perspective out here. I don't know how frequently these sighting buoys are going to be. If they are spaced a little apart instead of four, if there's only one or two, right, that will make things additionally a little more challenging. Again, you do have some awesome sighting locations for you. So even if you come off the swim line a little bit, you can still get back to it relatively easily. A common mistake for the first stretch and the last stretch out here is athletes zigzagging off of their sighting patterns. This doesn't happen a ton on the way out, but it does happen a lot on the way back in, and it typically finds something happening like that out here. Also, PSA, you're going to have a couple of really strong younger swimmers out here. That happens every year. The swim teams, the local teams get out here, and there's usually a handful of kids that absolutely fly coming back in. So be aware of that. Coming around the drain over here, I wouldn't really overthink it. It is just a little drain. If you're a little concerned about that, make sure you don't hug it out here. But it's barred off pretty good out there. And you will notice that it's going to be a lot of people. They typically line up along the grassy knoll out there, along the street out here, so they can see finish the swim, and then head out on the bike, which happens right over there. Another common mistake for athletes to have on the swim. When they get to that last sighting buoy out here, they'll start to see everyone. They'll start to get that adrenaline rush that they had for the first two buoys out here, and you will start to fly without realizing it. Be careful. Watch out for that trap. Very, very huge trap, because you're going to need all that adrenaline and speed for the swim. So you want to just maintain as best as possible into that finish line over there. Watch out for the boat ramp. It might have the probability to be a little slippery. It has been a little slippery in years past, so just watch out for that. This is our bike course. This does not have any aid stations out here, so plan to bring all the food that you want to consume on your person out here. This is what it's going to look like on race day in terms of elevation out here. This is what it's going to look like in terms of a power profile. So this is our speed. This is the elevation. We're going to take that away. This is what it will look like. This person has an FTP of about 240, 245. So you can see that where this line is, you do go above that line pretty frequently on this race. Just taking about an hour and 10 minutes for this athlete, right? About 155 pounds, 240 FTP. So you can kind of put together the math there. Elevation, let's talk about that purely from an elevation standpoint, and then we'll talk about it from a different standpoint in a second out here. So starting our race course off during this stretch of road out here, we are slowly kicking up pretty much the entire time out here. What that means for you is you're going to have a little bit of a hard start. You will be able to build some speed initially up to this first turn, taking a right-hand turn. Watch out for this. Very easy to get the gearing wrong because you go from kind of flat to an uphill section over here. And compound that, you are turning at the same time, so watch out. A lot of matches do get burned here every year on this stretch of road. Everyone wants to be flying out of the gate. In the first, mile and a half, you're pretty much going uphill. Of our 1,400 feet of elevation gain, for the first little 1.5 miles, we do carry 85 feet of elevation with about 2.5% grade out here. So watch out. You're going to make a left-hand turn and you will fly. You will bomb down this hill. I always took this as a not overdo this downhill, right? But you definitely want to build some speed into this hill. When you are building, you're going to cross the path right there. After you cross the path, it's going to kick up over here. It's going to get aggressive fast, about 3.5%. Once you make this turn over here, it remains at 3.5% for a little bit. So carrying your speed through that turn is critical, and that's going to be a huge thing on lap 2 and especially lap 3 once these slower athletes or athletes that are out there left get caught and you start to run into the back of the field again. So as you hit this turn, first, second, and third time, this is a critical one, right? Very, very common for athletes to stay super far to the right, stay to the right the entire time. They're mashing the pedals and they really have to stand up and fight through this corner when they do turn, and that is, you're expending a lot of energy for very little gain that way. Don't be afraid to slide to the left a little bit, hit the apex of the turn. Just make sure you're safe and there's no one coming from behind you. As you continue on this, I believe this is Lawyers Road out here. Let's zoom in here for you. Yeah, Lawyers Road. On Lawyers Road, this is a challenging one. You want to continue to build up speed, and you're about 3 miles into the race after you get out of Lawyers, and you feel like you should be flying at this point. But again, you are continuously going uphill out here. You're undulating, and you just have a really hard time getting into the rhythm of things. Take that right-hand turn, and believe it or not, you're still going up a little bit, but this is one of the first times you can really start to hit your stride out here. You'll find a lot of athletes use this as an opportunity to leapfrog people. Right-hand turn, and then you are going to hit this downhill right through here. This is a big trap out here. Everyone wants to remain as fast as they're going during this turn out here, and they do kick up over here before you cross over to the intersection over here and you hit the little strip mall back there. You're going to have to climb up to it a little bit. Most athletes find that they're getting out of the saddle, stomping on the pedals a couple of times. Just be careful. Make sure you're not overdoing that out here. You are going to be greeted with another couple of ups and downs before you cross over South Lakes Road out here, and you're going to be passing the golf course out here. Again, you are continuously climbing out here, and this is going to be the first real place that you can really kind of crush this downhill. Crushing this downhill, you are about -5% at its steepest downhill, and then you are going to be hit with an uphill, but that doesn't last very long, or shouldn't, because you should be going fast and carrying your speed through this right-hand turn. You're going to have to work a little bit to get through it, but then you are undulating downhill, hitting back to South Lakes again, where you are going to be flying past the high school. Usually you do have a tailwind at this section here. I'm hoping my fingers are crossed for you, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then you're going to start lap 2. But before you get there, you're going to cross over the river, or not the river, the lake out here, hitting this right-hand turn. This is another, not problem, but another issue for a lot of athletes. This is where a lot of people usually congregate, especially on loop 1 and loop 2. They watch their athletes swim, hop out, and then they start making their way to the high school for the festivities over there. When they do that, they usually hang out at this spot because the athletes slow down. It's a good little time out here before they make their way out to the high school again. So this hill out here, you hit that adrenaline rush again. You go from a slow thing and you turn right and you get it at a hill right in your face right through here. And so you're stomping and mashing on the pedals and you're probably going a little bit harder than you should. Watch your paces out here. Usually there's a bike incident over here, or at least that's one of the more likely places. Again, once you hit the top of this turn, you should be flying out here. Again, this is one of the most problematic spots in the tri world out here. You're crossing over paths. Athletes are starting their bike. You are flying down. And so this stretch right here, and even this stretch over here, is a little bit dangerous out here. And that's the loop, that's the elevation. It's going to be pretty much a carbon copy of things. Let's dish about power now and talk about how you can attack this. So bringing our speed back just initially, you can see that we are really up and down, and it's really hard to find that rhythm of continuous constant speed out here. And that is, it's pretty obvious why. You're up, you're down, you're all over the place out here. Looking at our power profile out here, we are starting off pretty aggressively. If you're not an advanced athlete, you probably should not be doing that. If you're not a podium chaser, you probably should ease it back a little bit. And even if you are a podium chaser, you should be watching out for that big trap right here. All right, your power is going to skyrocket up here. That's the turn that we talked about. If I can get it for you, down right here. Right there. So watch out for that. As we continue on over here, power is it's holding steady right here. You let it fall a little bit before you build back up. As you continue throughout over here, you can see that here, let me highlight it for you before I keep stumbling over my words here. The course is pretty definable right here. So you got loop 1, then you got loop 2, and then you got loop 3 out here. And loop 3 is slightly different. You do have a little bit of a chicane out there, but it is what it is. And if you look on their site over here, theirs actually goes slightly different, but it's pretty accurate over here. And so power, let's get back to power over here. So power, you could see that the loops start right here, right? As we continue up past the high school, right, it does steadily increase out here. You're holding right here. You do have a couple of jolts of power mixed in throughout each one, right? And then the power comes down slightly and you just repeat the process, build it up, hold it, and that's the process. build it up, hold, build up, hold. And that should set you up for race day success. What will not set you up for race day success is having these huge efforts, right, above your FTP, right, having them about a million places on course. It's easy to do, so you have to pick and choose where you do that on course. You can see that all of these happen with the big elevation changes out here on the course. You know, so watch out for other things like other athletes out here. First loop is pretty much the funnest loop, and then the second loop, it gets a little busy out there. Third loop is definitely busy, especially if you're a mid pack or a front of the pack athlete out here. So watch out for that other dynamic to the race. This race does have a huge impact with that, and that is one of the major factors that you do need to be aware of on race day are other people. Even if you're a slow athlete, right, you don't want to drift over to the left too far because there's going to be a lot of high profile people out there. If you are a high profile person, again, you want to constantly be letting people know where you're at. You're going to be using your voice a lot on this course, and that's totally fine. All right, just so everyone be safe. The goal should be everyone get home safe at the end of the day out here. Scrolling up to our weather out here, weather is projected to have a northerly wind. I would probably agree with that, but no matter where it's coming from, it's going to be swirling out here. There's just too much stuff, too many trees, houses, and everything kind of blocking it and forcing it to go in different directions out here. So it usually swirls out here. It's usually not coming from one constant place. Make sure you're evaluating where that is happening on loop one. You don't want to be managing everything with other people and nutrition and pacing and all of that and trying to figure out where the weather is coming from on lap 2 or lap 3, all right? Zones out here on race day. Zones to Olympics, you're going to find most of your power in that zone 4 area. About 5 minutes in that zone 5, 7 and 3, 8 and 2, and 31 seconds in zone 1. So not a ton of time there. Pretty self-explanatory why. Let's talk about time analysis on a course like this. So course analysis and improving your drag a little bit is going to save you 12 seconds. Huge thing that you need to be working on. Power. Just a slight increase, 1% increase for you. It's going to net you about 18 seconds out here. Weight on this course, if you shave 1%, you're going to save 6 seconds out here. Improving your rolling resistance is going to net you 2 seconds out here. So drag plays a huge part in this. So believe it or not, I'm going to be focusing on drag. I'm going to be focusing on power. The race isn't until September, so we got a lot of time to kind of prep and plan for. If I'm not up to race weight, I'm going to try to bring myself down a little bit. This athlete's pretty much already there, so I'm not going to do that. So if this athlete is able to improve their drag and improve their power, they're going to save themselves a minute, which doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of an Olympic, that is a definite huge bonus for you, especially if you are at the pointy end of the race out here. So that's our stuff out here. On to the run. So if we scroll back up here, we're going to unzoom for everybody's eyes, and then our run. This is our run course this year. It's the same as last year, I believe. And this is what it looks like. And we could change that to make it a little easier on the eyes out here. This is on a path on the way, pretty much all the way on the way out and back out here. You do have to run around a little unique section out here. You run out of the parking lot, you'll run back behind the track out there, you'll hang a right, have to do a little loop-de-loop out there before you do get onto the main thing at about 3/4 of a mile. So that's the biggest unique part of this course. The next part is just running paths. You're going to be secluded, shaded, all that fun stuff. So the elements aren't going to be a problem from the sky. Right? If it is raining, you're going to have a little bit of cover. If it's really sunny and hot, you're going to have a little bit of cover from there. If it is sunny and hot and it's humid, you're going to have a lot of humidity back through here. So that's something that you're going to have to manage. Aid stations are going to be about every mile. I believe they're having water and also hammer nutrition on the run course. A little bit unique out here. If you don't want to run with that stuff, make sure you are planning to pack it, prep it, carry it with you at all times. Biggest things about the course, right? You can clearly see that it's a steady uphill grade before a slight drop before the turnaround, and you have to climb out and a steady drop to the finish line. You do have to climb out up onto the track out there, and then you do finish on the track. Really cool. I think it's one of the best finishes for an Olympic out there. in the DMV or just pretty much wherever, right? When you do hit that finish line, it's pretty cool. Everyone can see you running on the track one loop. It's fun. I think it's great. So how do we attack this course? Well, first, when we climb or when we run out of the transition, we do not absolutely fly out here. This downhill section out here, you will see a lot of athletes start to cramp up. You'll see their days start to get ruined in the first quarter mile because they're really overdoing it. There's usually an aid station before you hit this back section out here, so make sure you are using it to cool off, get some calories or whatever, right? And this downhill, in my opinion, this downhill should be used as a marker of what to expect on your race day. If you've overdone the bike and you're starting to cramp up, then you need to slow down, right? If you're hungry, if you're tired, if you are starting to cramp, if you're having stomach issues, the list goes on and on and on. You need to figure out what's going on and why it happened and how to fix it. The sooner you do that, the sooner your race is going to get fixed out here, right? It's not going to come all the way back, but it will come back. You're initially going to be greeted by a slight downhill grade to about 3/4 of a mile. Again, this is a huge trap for pretty much everyone out here. A lot of athletes are really going to be flooring it. They're going to be overdoing it. Don't be one of those people. After you hit that 3/4 of a mile section, you want to really focus on your running form and slowly ramp up the effort level. As I'm scrolling over here, nothing screams super crazy aside from a couple of 3, 4 percenters, but they're over very, very quickly. As we continue up this massive hill for our 315 feet of elevation gain, we are only going to be, we're going to be troubled with a couple of 3 percenters, mostly in the 2 or high 1%. That's going to be where you're at out here. But once you do hit this little crest out here, then you do get greeted with a nice downhill out here. This downhill, very, very, very problematic. You're going to get a false sense of speed, false sense of hope, all of that stuff. Make sure that you are actively monitoring yourself out here. You're going to have to turn around, and this is where everyone starts to hit the wall. Sometimes they do it right here, other times it happens later on in the event, but this is a big precursor to what is going to happen. If you've overdone it, you need to slow down. Listen to your body, all right? Listen to the warning signs that are flashing on the manifold. If you are having a great day, this section should start to be a springboard for your success out here. When you are slowly dropping down out here, again, this hill makes it look a little massive, but again, you only have 315 feet that you're climbing out here, so this hill is just a steady decline. Watch for the slow slip of form. Watch for your stride to slowly start to get bigger, your legs start to get in front of you. A lot of athletes cramp in the quads and the calves out here, and that's because of this section later on in the race. You're already on your limit, and then you're asking your body to stretch out a little bit further, and your body doesn't want to, amongst other things. So watch out for that on race day. It's going to be fun. The last couple of miles are notoriously challenging. You want it to be over. You want it to be done. It is very, very tough. There's going to be small hills that keep nipping at you to prevent you from the finish line. Make sure you're hitting your nutrition. Watch out for other people really pushing your pace. It's a huge, huge trap out there. Make sure you're running your race and have a blast out there at 2025 edition of the Reston Triathlon. One of my favorite ones ever. If you made it this far, please feel free to like the video. If you have any coaching needs or consultation requests, contact info is down below. Best of luck to everyone racing this year.